Welcome to Module 3 of the Horse Council of British Columbia Emergency Preparedness Training Series, Containment and Housing. Equine that are evacuated or loose during an emergency event may require temporary containment or housing. They must be properly contained for both animal welfare and public safety. This module is going to cover considerations with containment and housing for the animals. Part of emergency preparedness planning is to identify and mitigate risk. This includes risk to volunteers, animals, and property. The first part of risk mitigation is to identify possible risks. When dealing with containment and housing, possible risks include injury to handlers or animals during active handling, damage to property, injury to animals or volunteers from facilities or equipment, exposure to disease, or theft of the animals. So how do we mitigate the risk? We start by allowing only people that are trained, experienced, and skilled in handling horses to work around the animals. We practice safe handling practices, which are covered in a later module. We inspect all facilities before the arrival of the horses to ensure they are safe and ready for the animals. We implement biosecurity procedures. We ensure that all animals are identified upon arrival. We provide round-the-clock security. And we only release horses when proof of ownership is provided, which we will also address in an upcoming module. We are going to start with preparation of the facilities for receiving animals. We already covered considerations when choosing temporary housing sites in Module 2. This included accessibility, the number of animals they can accommodate, and availability of water. We are now going to discuss considerations when setting up facilities for receiving animals. First, the facility should have the ability to safely accommodate numerous animals of different sizes, ages, and health status. You should have both stalling and penning or corral options available if possible. Remember that not all horses are halter broke, such as rodeo stock, and they will require corral housing. Groups of horses from the same farm can be housed as a group in corrals or pens for efficiency. And water must be present and accessible in all pens, corrals, or stalls. Drawing from your resource list, you will need to start by sourcing all the supplies you identified during the development of your resource list. This may include temporary penning and fencing, water vessels such as troughs or buckets, hoses, bedding, grass hay, a water truck if required, tools and equipment, halters, lead shanks and blankets, first aid equipment, and table and chairs. You will need to ensure that the facilities are safe and ready for receiving and housing animals. You will want to start by inspecting the facilities as a whole. Stalls, corrals, and unloading areas should be free of any sharp or protruding objects that may injure the animals or handlers. Stalls, pens, and corrals must be free of garbage, debris, and wild animals. All fencing should be inspected for broken boards or missing or loose wires. All gates and stall doors should swing freely and can be secured shut. All water buckets or troughs are leak-proof and clean. You will want to make any necessary repairs identified during your inspection. Take photos of all areas to have record of the condition of the facilities before animals arrived. And daily inspections should occur to make sure the facility is being maintained for the safety of the animals and the handlers. If you are using temporary penning, such as portable panels or electric fencing, it should be located in a safe location, be on level ground that is free of objects that may injure the animals, including holes or large rocks, be in a location that can provide protection from heat or cold north winds, such as shade or a wind barrier. The panels must be safely secured together with reinforcements, such as zip ties. Be easily accessible for both the handlers and the horses. And have a provision of water in each of the temporary facilities. If you use temporary cross fencing, it must be attached to temporary posts that are securely stuck in the ground. Once the facilities are set up, your final preparation for receiving animals should include the bedding of all stalls or pens when necessary, the placement and filling of all water vessels in the stalls, pens, or corrals. You will want to identify and hang signage for the parking and unloading areas, the sign-in area for receiving animals, the triage and first aid location, the feed storage area, the waste disposal location, the location for dead disposal, and you will want to post your emergency contact sheet in an area where everyone can see it. At this time, you should also set up your check-in area so you are ready to start receiving animals. You are now ready to implement your plan and start receiving animals. When receiving animals, you will want to first follow the procedures that will be covered in Module 6, Identification. This is to ensure that all animals have proof of ownership upon arrival at the facility. You will want to assign horses to proper housing based on their size, their health status, their compatibility with other animals, and their previous handling experience. As discussed earlier, some animals can only be handled as a herd or on the ground, such as rodeo stock. You will want to segregate any horses that show signs of disease, injury, or illness and notify the veterinarian immediately. This will be discussed more in depth in Module 7. Be extra careful when handling horses, especially ones that you are unfamiliar with, as they are frightened. They are surrounded by unfamiliar facilities, unfamiliar animals, and unfamiliar people. Keep halters at all stalls or corrals for each horse. This will allow for quick access to the halters if they are needed for evacuation or movement of the animals. Check that water is available in penning, stalls, or corrals when placing animals in them. And you will need to provide feed within 24 hours of their arrival. Operational aspects of your evacuation site will include that you check water on a regular basis, especially in hot weather. All animals should have access to water at all times. You will want to perform regular facility inspections to make sure all facilities are still in good repair, and that you make repairs as required as soon as they are identified. If there is any damage that you cannot repair at the time, you need to record the damage so it can be tended to after the evacuation site is cleared. You will need to clean out all stalls or pens as required, especially when changing animals out between the stalls or pens. And you will want to check bedding and hay storage areas for heating. Remember that bedding and hay can self-combust and cause a fire. Now for a quick review of Module 3's key points. Be aware of possible risks to you, the animals, and the property, and practice risk mitigation. Be aware of different housing requirements for horses based on their size, age, disposition, compatibility, and health status. Inspect all facilities to ensure they are safe. Be diligent when setting up portable penning to ensure it is safe and secure. And segregate any animals that exhibit health concerns. You will also need to continually monitor the animals, the water, and the facilities. We have now reached the end of Module 3. You can now proceed to Module 4, Evacuation and Transportation.